Good morning. Good afternoon. How we doing today, everyone? How are we? How's it going? Most of your info confirmed by Laurie Whitwell that Brentford has changed their asking price. Well, yeah, that's the main subject I want to talk about. Um, uh, that's the main subject I want to talk about. Was that exact situation? That we're talking about, because it's become complicated, and I think that as well it's become, there's valid reasons to say that United should walk away from this kind of deal and this kind of situations, but that's what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about that in a minute here. I want to start with that. I want to talk about the keeper situation. I want to talk about Antony. I want to talk about some other things, but this is more of a discussion aspect as to what my concerns were. I talked on Saturday and Sunday. I said, look, this is the week to me. This is the week to me that something has to happen, or I say now I would say there will be some serious mistakes. And there's some info kind of behind this as well. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. In the Mbeumo thing, I'll describe it, because a lot of what I was talking about last week has been now kind of confirmed, and so I want to give a bit of sharing on what I see, what I see is going on here, and where we're at as of today, and then should we walk, and we can talk about it there. Yeah. So, as you're coming in here, we're getting close to the pivot deadline. Exactly. As we're getting into this, will you please like the video, like the stream, like the live? It helps me a lot. Means a lot to me when you guys do that. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all of that as we get in here, as people are filing in, and then we will talk about all of this as well. Do you give us permission to wobble yet? Well, let's talk and get through the Mbeumo section, and we'll see where everybody is at, and we'll see how we feel about it at the end of it. What we do think about this, because I've certainly got some thoughts on the matter. No doubt about that. I have got some serious thoughts on this topic. And I would say it's the first time that I feel like I said, this week was going to be the week, because I said that once Mbeumo is back and then he's in training, there's some things have to start to move on this, and some progress here it can't stay status quo as it has been for days now. The tour, they're leaving next week. Mbeumo is back. Every day now is a waste and a risk of us not getting Mbeumo in for the tour, and that's always been what we wanted to do, is get him in for the tour. So that's what I want to talk about here. That's what I want to talk about, and it doesn't mean it's hopeless. It just means let's talk it through, okay? All right, let me just tweet, and then we'll go, and I'll put my little poll up. All right, let's do it. Why are we still there? We're losing time. Well, yeah, I mean, look, it is only July 14th. A year ago today, we announced our first signing of the summer, last summer, which was Joshua Xerxes. I'm always going to put some things in perspective, to be quite honest, because like when I look at a few things, right? Um, last summer, I'll tell you what's funny. I'll tell you what's funny. I see a lot of people saying like last summer, you know, like right now we're they're less hopeful for the future, that they think we're going to be worse than ever, that it's like the worst summer ever. And I truly believe people must have amnesia. But then again, what if people are just totally wrong? What if people are just totally wrong? What if like what if everybody's just what if common consensus is just wrong? And when people feel positive, it's actually terrible, and when people feel negative, it's a good thing. Because I remember the celebrations over the eventual decision to keep Eric Ten Hag. I felt completely hopeless last summer, no matter how much of a brave face I put on about certain things. Underneath, I felt completely hopeless because I knew that they'd screwed the decision up, and no matter what we did, it was going to end in disaster. But I tried really hard to be positive and get into the positives and all of that last year. We spent the entirety of June still meeting to talk about what to do with Ten Hag. So that was pretty bad. It's not. No, look. I think there are a lot of things that are better. I've said that many times. There's a lot of things that have improved around there. But here's where we are. Here's where we are today. The fact of the matter is, if Mbeumo signs tomorrow, all right. If Mbeumo signs tomorrow, then that's all the money we have anyway. So I don't particularly feel negative, given that it's July 14th. If Mbeumo signs tomorrow, then it's all good. That's why I said by the end of this week, that's my deadline, because then we're going to go on tour and all of that stuff. If Mbeumo signs this week, then it's nothing to me. Then it's great. He's agreed. He's done. We've spent all of our budget on two very good players. Now we got to sell and hopefully get some more money coming in. But I wouldn't say that we're behind where we should be, just given the circumstances, if they get Mbeumo done. But here's the concern, here's the problem that I have at this point in time, is here's what's been happening on the Mbeumo situation, which I shared last week. In the talks with Brentford, the price has changed on multiple occasions, and they have moved the goalposts. I shared this a week ago. Some people kind of denied it, but that is exactly what's happening. And Laurie Whitwell has confirmed that today on the Talk of the Devils, that it's been changing, right? And so what's happened is they went with the second bid, which everybody said that was going to be the bid. We were going to do it. And this was going to be the one to get it. They understood the price that Brentford were asking for was supposed to be close. They put the bid in, and then the deal completely stalls again. Totally rejected, and doesn't get, nothing happens, right? And then you put together another bid, and you're ready to do it, but the concern is, let's say United go in with 65 million, which is what they were ready to offer 2 weeks ago now. The concern is you go in with 65 million, and then Brentford offers 70, 75 million. Say, no, we want 70, 75. Or they change the terms again and say, well, actually, we want more money up front now. Or actually, we want more money guaranteed. That's what's been happening over the course of these discussions, is every time they come back with some kind of proposal that they think is getting closer, the amount is starting to change, okay? That being said, that's why I said this week, Mbeumo's back. What we needed from him, this is the strategy, what we needed from him is to push them. Because what he and his representative need to do, if they want this deal to happen, is to go to Brentford and say, listen, what is the price? What is the price? What is the actual price that is going to get this done? I want to know. I want something because I want to make this deal. I want this move. I want to go to Manchester United. And get Brentford to give the player and his agent a firm price. I mean, to be fair to Verandas and Sporting, for example, okay, you take the Gyökeres situation. They didn't honor the earlier agreement, but they did tell Gyökeres and his agent the exact price that it would take, to get the deal done to Arsenal. And then the agent and the deal would go to Arsenal, came back, and that's the exact price that they accepted, with the agent dropping his 6-7 million that he was due from it. It's the exact price. To be fair to Verandas, that is correct dealing. Okay? That is the way that you want to deal with. That's how clubs are supposed to do these kinds of things. But that's also what happens when a player kicks up a fuss, right? Gyökeres didn't come to training, pushed, said, he forced them to set a firm price. I understand the Gyökeres deal isn't done, but he did force them to set a firm price on what the cost would be, very explicitly, so that it could be communicated to the club and they could either offer that or not. And when it was offered, essentially it seems as though Sporting accepted it based on, I'm just going based off Ornstein and them in terms of what has been agreed at this point in time. That's what is needed from our side. Is sometimes that's just what has to happen. The player has got to be able to do that and get a thing, because it's not even about the amount of money anymore. Okay? It's not even about the amount of money anymore. It's about what is the amount. Because what if you go to 70 and they say 75? It's never ending when you cannot listen, when you cannot trust a club to give you, in these talks, to give you a price, then it starts to be ridiculous. Ooh, calm down. Everything's okay. I wanted to get a new
forfeit won't
audio
happen.
for that. I forgot.
Rolling on the floor laughing emoji. Out of 10, how confident are you that we sign Mbeumo now? Thoughtful face emoji. I don't trust Ineos, but they need suitable backups.
Right. Well, this is the thing, right? So we've gotten to the point where Mbeumo's back in England, and that's why I said, hey, the report from McGrath, pardon me, I'm going to sneeze, to me was a positive sign because he was back in England. Our whole strategy was calm down, everything's okay. But I did mean to change the audio.
If they've moved the goalposts again, then United need to move on and put the ball in Mbeumo's court to force the deal through himself. Our season could be jeopardized.
100%. That's exactly right. That's what needs to happen here. That's what has to occur here. That's what's got to happen. That has to go. That's exactly right. That's what we've needed. That's been the strategy. I said that last week on Monday's podcast. I started and I said our strategy here is that we're going to need to get Mbeumo to kind of push this through now. He's back. That's why I said I was good to see a positive report, but we need to feel that is nailed down and be certain of it. And if we do, then we can make a bid and get the deal done. And I think that's what's going to happen. Where I was saying this week is a turning point. Down. Everything's okay. Does Brentford being linked to... I don't know why I didn't read that. Does Brentford being linked to Hutchinson help? Right.
Does
maybe...
Brentford being linked to Hutchinson help?
Delayed. Maybe the Hutchinson link is because Mbeumo came back, did that. We've got a firm price. We've told them now we're going to meet it. There's confidence in this happening, and they're looking at replacements today. And I'm not saying that they're waiting. They may be waiting for us to actually make that bid now, but they're starting on working on the replacements. But this is the concern, is that this why I said this week is because if this strategy is going to work, if this is our strategy, this is what we need to get a deal over the line. If this strategy is to work, then with Mbeumo back and with the tour a week from now, it has to be this week. It has to be now. It has to happen, you know, every day that, like, it wouldn't make sense. He's back. Well, if he's there all week and nothing happens on the deal, then it hasn't worked. Then he's not going to push. Then he's not going to nail it down. And we're not going to get that deal done. So that's why I said this week. That was the reason I said that, was somewhat knowledge understood in terms of what actually we were trying to do. Is this is the plan? That is the strategy. Get him to. We need him to push on this now, so that we have certainty of where we're going to of where we need to be to get this deal done. They still want it done. They still want him on the plane to the U.S. They still want him on the tour. They still intend to do it, but we have to kind of get it out there, like, you know. And so that's the strategy. That's why I said this week is really, really important. That's why I said this week is really important. That's why I said this is the week where things turn for me. Because if they do not today, tomorrow, by Wednesday, if this strategy doesn't work, if Mbeumo won't push them, if they won't settle on a price, and if United don't feel confident in it, then they have two choices as of, like, and that has to be like in the next 48 hours. They have two choices, which is number one. Ooh, calm down. Everything's okay. Watkins fund.
You think Villa will sell Watkins in August?
Sure. I think they'll sell him later. I think they'll sell him still. If a bid comes in, obviously. I don't think they would have to, but I think they will. It's not, no, it's very normal. I mean, this is exactly how a lot of deals happen when a club's making the price difficult. You know, this is what happens. In the next 48 hours, truthfully, what do they have to do? They have to either then decide, do we just throw that big bid in, hope they accept it because we can't nail things down, or do not put the bid in because you don't think they're going to accept it, and you move on to your alternative. That has to happen this week. It has to happen this week, in my mind. Like, that's my view on it. That has to happen this week. Either you're sure of the amount from Mbeumo, and he pushes, and you get this deal sorted, and it progresses, like right now, because he's back, so it should be happening today, tomorrow, the next day. Or you're not confident in it. You put the money in, you see if they accept it, and you walk if they don't, or you walk anyway. One or the other. That has to happen now. You know, and you have to tell Mbeumo, if he won't push, if they don't accept this bid, we are walking away. And that's the conversation that needs to occur, and the reality that needs to be accepted. I would still lean towards it happening to this week, just because I think it makes sense. And I think that he wants to move and all of that, but it remains to be seen. That's what has to happen now. If they do walk away, then I don't think it'll necessarily go to like a specifically like another right 10, because it's not really just the way that it works. You would go to probably like a striker or something like that. You know what I mean? Like Watkins would probably be a very strong target there. Because you don't necessarily need the same type of player. Look, we went from Delap and a striker to Mbeumo. We were looking at Gyökeres. If Gyökeres had wanted us, we would have been willing to move away from Mbeumo to go to Gyökeres if it wasn't like a certain deal. It's not about the position 100%, because the view is we need a striker. We need more priorities than we're going to be able to deal with this summer. So it's about going to the next best player. You know what I mean? So I think they would go to striker, work on some sales, and see if they can come back for Mbeumo or for an alternative in that respect. So I think it would very likely be for a striker, for someone like Ollie Watkins in that case, or Nicholas Jackson. I'm I'm just teasing, maybe. But yeah, I mean that's the truth of it. Is that it's this is the situation where we're at, you know? And when I look at it, I go, you know, this is genuinely what has to be resolved. Yeah. Ooh, calm down. Everything's okay.
If we have another bid rejected publicly, maybe he would kick up a fuss at that point, or would it be too late by then?
Well, that's a good question, Glenn, because sometimes what happens is you say, hey, we're going to put 65 million in. If they're turning that down, maybe that's what forces Mbeumo to say, hold on a second, you guys need to accept this bid. This is ridiculous. I want that move. You know what I mean? But I'm just saying, like, at some point, this has to happen in these next couple of days, and I expect it will on this front, because this is the plan there. And but again, part of it only works if you are willing to walk away, unless the player is going to straight up force the move. You know, then it only works when you do that. So if you have that ability. So I still think it'll happen. I think it'll happen. But now is the time for sure. What was I going to say? Shoot. I was thinking about something. Yeah, it's okay to walk away from deals as long as you have an alternative lined up. And they better. They better. Because if they do walk away, they have to be ready to pay for somebody else right away and get it done. That is for sure. We've looked at plenty of other teams, of players. Yeah, I forgot about that, Jacob. That's an interesting point. If every one of your subscribers pledged $83.33 or pounds, we'd have 2.5 million extra for Big Brian. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's just Xavi Simons. We've looked at Xavi Simons, but again, I think that the biggest priority here is to try and get people who are a bit more proven in the door, who will hit the ground running quickly and have an impact. Villa would probably ask for 60 million now for Watkins. I don't know. I mean, everybody is always an absolute genius on all of this, but like, you know, when you take, I mean, it's funny because when you take like Arsenal, for example, what is funny here is Šeško's been their top target for like 6 months. They just walked away from Šeško to get Gyökeres. So it's okay to walk away from someone you've been chasing for a long time, so long as you actually have a good alternative lined up. That is okay. And that's kind of the point there, that they need to do that. What is the story with working on? There isn't working on one deal at a time, but we don't have the money to buy more people after Mbeumo. That's kind of, again, the point where, like, I think it's sort of stupid. Like, we can't buy anybody else after Mbeumo. You do realize that. Like, if we buy Mbeumo tomorrow, that's it. We don't have any more money. There's just a reality there that has to also be accepted, that I think people aren't getting. Like, their window was open the same amount of time as us, and they've just moved to their alternative target in Gyökeres, so it is the same thing. João Pedro, Elanga, and Madueke are all much younger. Much younger. Ooh, calm down. Everything's okay.
Why are we not looking at Justin Kluivert? He's quality.
I don't know. You know, United did look at him a bit ago. I don't know enough about Justin Kluivert, but I just don't think he's particularly the type that they want to go for. Didn't people get the memo when we sacked so many people to make a shoestring budget? Apparently not. Like, that was for a reason, you know? But yeah, like, there's nothing to do with not working on one deal at a time. We were working on convincing Mbeumo and getting the Cunha deal done, um, and all of that. Is it down to PSR? It's PSR. It's just the club, man. The club doesn't have the money to do more deals after Mbeumo. Like, that's just the reality of it. We just don't have more money after Mbeumo. So it's not about doing one deal at a time. It's about, like, we just, there's no, like, to do what, you know? We can't do a bunch of deals and then let me ask you guys a question here. I'm gonna ask, when is your walk away? Now, end of week. Don't just bid higher till it's done. I'm not being facetious with this. I'm actually curious of all of your opinions here. Huh? When is your walk away? Daniel Tiger. Oh man, we've my son's old enough to have moved well beyond that phase, but that was ingrained in my mind for ages. Hello, Money. Hey, Toast. Right, walk away to whom? To whom? Right, that's the question. End of week for most of you? Okay. Now for some. Walked away from Braithwaite last year. But we were like 20 million off the price on Braithwaite, you know? End of week. All right, so most people say end of week, huh? 228 votes. That's pretty good. That's a pretty suitable number of people voting. Give us an idea of what is wanted. I mean, at most we're a few million away, you know? I mean, it's still close. It's more a principle matter of like, we think we're a few million away, but we think we're a few million away, but then like, are they going to change it again? That's the question. Garnacho and 50 millions for Palmer. You're going to have to add a zero to that 50. I don't think Palmer is going to leave Chelsea, okay? I don't think so at all. Carl Anka's so excited to look. I think paying 65 million for Mbeumo is fine. I think that that's fair. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think I have a problem with that. But I'm genuinely wondering, based on what I've heard, like, is there even a deal there to be made? You know what I mean? I start to get the idea that Brentford are just being dicks about it, and it's like, oh well, you know, you've not, you know, push us until we walk away, and then they'll hope that Newcastle or Spurs and multiple other clubs will come back in for Mbeumo and they'll get a bidding war. Like, that's my worry, is that are they going to are they genuinely trying to kill the deal and make sure it doesn't happen? I actually am worried about that. That is my concern in general, is that they actually don't want to sell us the player at all, and they're trying to kill the deal. Because they would hope that they'd rather sell to somebody else. There's, you know, it's like, I don't know. I worry about that. Because how they've acted so far seems to indicate they have some serious problems selling to us. You know, because I get that impression, because they're pushing it to the point of where it seems like it's not even about the money anymore. Why would they not accept 62.5 million? Why would they not accept 65 million? It's a lot of money, and it's a very fair deal. I mean, our offer for Mbeumo was fair. Our offer for Mbeumo was quite fair. And what we've been looking at proposing is quite fair. The lack of confidence that they would accept that and that would be something that they want, to me, indicates they genuinely, it's more than just business. Like, they just don't actually want to sell. Like, you look at all of these other clubs who are selling and buying right now, you just don't see it. Like, Newcastle go in for Elanga, and it's like, okay, it's 55 million, and it's like they just pay it, and the club just sell it. They just sell them. They could have asked for more. They could have made it more difficult, but they don't. They just do it. I don't know. There's something else about it. Like I said, yeah, I think if Tottenham had come in and said 65 million, 62 million, here's the thing. You have to understand something, okay? You saw the reports. You saw the reports from quite a number of good journalists 3 weeks ago now. That 55 million base fee was agreed. To go back on that, and now it's like, if that was the case and it was agreed and they told us that was enough and we bid that, it should have been close enough for this deal to get done at that time within days, because that's the bulk of the fee. To go back on that, to me, is bad faith negotiating. And to me, when someone bad faith negotiates, they're telling you they don't actually want to deal with you, and they're trying to kill it. And that's how it feels to me from a slightly outside perspective, that they actually don't want to deal with us in particular, and that they're bad faith negotiating on it. Now, it's up to United to get wise to this, and to move on to somebody else if that's going to be the case. And that's why I said it has to be, they have to do something on this now, because otherwise I think we're just letting Brentford dick us around a bit. But the solution to that is the player. The solution to that is the player. That is the solution. It's the player. The player has to go to them and say, hold on a second. I want this move. I want this move. I want to get something done. I want the move to United. I want this to happen. What's going on here? You know what I mean? And that's concerning. That's the part that's what we need. Essentially. So yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at on it. It could, again, bearing in mind that walking away and going to another target doesn't mean you don't come back. It just means you're going to come back later if you're going to look at it. Let's talk about the keeper situation, and then we'll keep going through a few things, and we'll come back to this in a minute. On the keeper situation, obviously we still have this kind of debate over, Vitek, Bayindir, what they do in this kind of market. Now, Andy Mitten said, what did he exactly say? He said he could see Bayindir getting a chance, but will likely not nail down a position. Vitek is highly rated. But the view within the club is that he may not be ready. So that, if that's the case, that means we've got a Bayindir who we know is not rated. We've got Vitek, who's highly rated but maybe not ready. And you got Eli Harrison in the academy, who's also really highly rated, but not ready. So to me, that leads to one obvious solution, which is what they've been looking at, which is to go for someone like John Victor, right? To get somebody who's maybe a little more established, who can play season maybe you have your long-term solution on goalkeeper in-house already. If you run it and you have John Victor and Vitek as a backup or something to get ready, then that would be fine. And Vitek could be a keeper next year. My view on keepers, like I was saying in the podcast earlier as well, is that like I don't really think there are that good of keepers out there where you know I don't think there was that good of keepers out there to where you should just go spend a boatload of money on a keeper. So I'm fine with it. Like, I mean, you look at like Sommer, Chesney, like clubs got good keepers in cheap, free, like older keepers who were like essentially finished, and they helped them quite a lot. Getting somebody experienced in the keeper department while your younger players get ready is certainly totally fine as a plan with me. Let's just see how the young keepers get on in preseason, and then we could go cheap and get an established player. And that would probably be fine. We still obviously need to move someone like by Indy or out. Yeah, Vitek, we got to give him a few games. Yeah, exactly. I think we give him, hopefully he gets a few games and we can see him. And then decide, because look, if they think Vitek is good enough in the future, then I understand why they wouldn't buy Lamens, because then you don't need two young prospect keepers in there. If they don't think Vitek will make it, then you probably should go buy someone like Lamens as well. So yeah, that would make sense. So yeah, I think that we'll give the young keepers will get a chance in some of these preseason games to be assessed, and then I think we'll be ready. With but they then line up a move. But I strongly believe we'll buy a keeper of some sort. Everything's been going that way for a long time, that we've been going to get a keeper. But I'm leaning towards a more established keeper than getting a young keeper or something like that, because I think they would rather see how it works with guys like Vitek and stuff. Though I think Lamens may be the best option out there. So I don't know what they're going to decide yet, because it's not decided. That's the truth of the matter. It's not decided. They need to assess some of these young keepers in preseason. That's okay. You don't have to decide on this today. If giving a chance to some of these young keepers to see how they do that we have is a totally fine plan, because with keepers, I just don't think it's that complicated, and whoever you're going to get isn't going to be particularly expensive. So I'm okay with that plan, and I don't think it's going to kill how you play in preseason to use a young keeper and test them out and see how they're doing. I'm okay with that plan. That's probably what will happen. I suspect it'll be after the tour that we make that decision and decide on what to do with on the keeper front, based on what Amarim sees with the keepers, how they perform, all of that kind of stuff. Moving on to what am I moving on to? Antony. Okay. So this is an interesting story that came out on Antony. If Vitek does well in preseason, why not? Yeah, why not? Yeah, exactly. Why not? But let's take a look here. So this is an interesting thing on Antony, saying that Antony's in Manchester to resolve his future. The player himself traveled yesterday from Brazil to England. He is the main target of Real Betis. United's not making it easy. Important week. And then he went on to say, hold on. Let's see if I can find the second part of this properly. Oh, here we go. This is interesting. The trip is very significant because Manchester United give Antony until the end of July to finalize his departure. The player wants the situation to be resolved as soon as possible. So, yeah, is that... that's what they're saying, that they gave him longer, but that he's come back to push through the talks to get a move to Betis. Now, I don't... last week... was it Simon Stone said he was going to stay in Brazil until his future was sorted with Betis, but apparently, he's come back early to push through and try to get this done. I mean, if that's all true, and we'd have to confirm that to be certain, then I rate that, obviously, working to push the deal through. But yeah, I mean, we just need, obviously, Batiste. Now, the other thing that did happen today, people are saying Batiste have funds from sales. No, that's not true. They still haven't sold Cardoso. Cardoso, there's a report from The Athletic today that Cardoso is finally on the verge of getting done. They sold other players. So this was one of the things, I was surprised by this too, because I actually thought this had been done earlier. But according to The Athletic, there was an art. Hold on, I'll find it. What is going on? Oh, it's because I'm on The Athletic US, huh? The Athletic UK and The Athletic US are apparently completely different. So, oh, and now it's like impossible to find it. Oh my god, I'm gonna lose it, man. I'm just trying to find the article. Hold on, because apparently now the Athletic UK website is redirects to the US one, which is cool. Don't know when that started. I've never had that problem before, to be honest. Here. Atletico Madrid are in the final stages of a deal to sign Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. Tottenham had a first refusal, which became active, but the agreement expired on June 10th. So this is from today. That this is like a few hours ago. So apparently, this is about to get done for 30 million euros. So this was one of the things that we were expecting to be necessary. For this to happen, you know what I mean? For Betis to come in with a good bid for Antony and to get a deal done, was that they would get some money from this kind of deals. So that's a good sign, I think. But yeah, we need both of those things to move. It seems as though Antony, fortunately, unlike some others, wants to push on his move and get his move done quicker. So, you know, he's got to push on both sides on that, hopefully, to move this along. This one has been, look, this is one I've been pretty sure will get done in the end to him, to Betis, but yeah, they've got to put this kind of offer in shortly here. But yeah, look, if they're finalizing that sale of Cardoso and he's back in the UK pushing this, then hopefully this does get done in the next few days. I mean, it's funny, right? This is Antony, to a degree. Look at it in reverse for a second. If this is true, this is Antony today doing what we need Mbeumo to do on the other side of it. Push a deal through. I'm not saying the situations are the same, but like, if he's coming back early to talk to the club to try to get a deal to go through, we kind of need that to happen on the other side of things. So, you know, not the same situation, but there are some similarities there. We want a permanent transfer. The structure of it, again, could be weird, but we do kind of need that to happen. So I think that he's doing something respectable. I mean, look, when you look at the players, right, it's like, ooh, calm down, everything's okay.
Brentford don't want to negotiate in good faith, then unfortunately Mbeumo misses out and we move on. The more players that want to join and we walk away from due to their clubs, the more respect we get.
I agree. There is that fact, is that if that is how it goes and we end up walking away, it probably has a long-term benefit on us for not folding if he won't push the move through. But at the same time, we need to get somebody else done. You know, look, if we walked and then, you know, Spurs bought him for 60 million the next day, all that would prove is that Brentford were specifically killing a deal to sell to us. And that's probably not a terrible thing if it were to come out like that in terms of United's reputation in the market. But regardless, I think we still very much need to get a player. More clubs do the same or charge more. No, because most clubs actually do want a deal in that respect. You know, when they approach this, they actually want the money and they don't want to miss out. You know, um, but yeah, we'll see here. He just, like I say, he needs to do kind of at least a little bit more to push this along. Other sales wise, we're still kind of waiting for the story here on Sancho. That was the closest one over the weekend. Look, I don't get it. I don't know. I think that anyway, look, I think they've been difficult. They've been moving to goalposts. Whatever the reason for that is, I don't know why. So I can only speculate beyond that, aside from the fact that the director of football is a Newcastle fan. But here's the red flags, okay? Let's look at the red flags, okay? Number one, a fake bid from Tottenham briefed to all their journalists. Why? It's so weird. Like, look, there are leaks about, oh, another club is interested, things like that. That happens every day. But a fully bullshit, completely false bid put into media I cannot say I've ever actually seen a club do that. I've never seen a club do that. I've never seen a club put out a completely fake bid through strong local media in England that way. I don't think I've ever seen that. I correct me if I'm wrong. If somebody has an example of this occurring, that was very weird behavior, right? Secondly, was the director going on Sky Sports after he briefed them a fake bid as well? A fake bid. He briefed them that and then went on there and did the same thing and then spoke about it publicly right after we made our second bid that should have been close to their demands to screw the thing off. Spurs did it with City and Berbatov. Interesting. Okay. Like, why? What does this do? Like, what is the point of all of this? That is weird behavior. It's not like when Arsenal bid for Norgard, they said that, well, actually, we're in talks with United, and United bid 20 million for Norgard, so you're going to need to pay a bit more because they're looking for a midfielder. They didn't do it. They didn't do anything like that. It was like, okay, you can have our captain, you know, it's just strange. It's just strange to me. There's weird things that they've done on this where I sit and go, it feels very bad faith. The whole thing just feels very weird to me, you know? I mean, look at the Wolves situation, by the way, like when you speak about speed, right? The season finished, the clause was active. We went to Wolves. We said, hey, look, you know, obviously they had there's players that have done it, Naveen. There's always players that do it who are playing for a new thing, but for clubs to just fake a 70 million bid is kind of crazy. You know, and the Cunha thing was like, okay, what do we want in terms of installments? We offer them 3. They said 5. It was done in an hour. Like, the news from offering 3 installments to just agreeing to pay the clause of the full 5, or sorry, I think we were offering to pay at 5. We ended up paying in 3. Excuse me. The 3 was the original agreement, the original clause. It was like an hour. It literally took an hour. It was, you know, it was United rejected in terms of their clause, and then it was just an hour. They just said, just pay the clause. And United were like, all right, fine, pay the clause. The terms were obvious. The terms were easy. Wolves said, just do, if you do, you know, there's no issues. Just do the terms. We did the terms. It's fine. Like, the club are obviously willing to do things if the answers are clear. It's just been weird. It's just been very, very weird behavior. It's just been weird behavior. So, you know, again, it shouldn't take that long. And I the thing about it is this is where I go, like, where I look at things and I go, I get why people are always trying to, like, looking for somebody to pin the blame on and like be angry at. I get that for the state of United. Well, there's people to pin it on and be angry at, but when you look at what's gone on, if you genuinely think that, for example, like if you genuinely think that United are sitting there going, we're stalling, taking days, weeks at a time because we're not coming into work and not even trying and not discussing and not bringing proposals and not getting the money together and things like that. Like if you think that they're just genuinely not trying, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like I could just tell you that you're wrong, but it's like, because to me it's just a weird assumption. Like it's a strange assumption that like the United staff, these people who are hired, are trying to fail or something like that, or not even working on it. It's just weird. I don't get that. There's been cases where you've had the people in place that just don't care. You know, that everything runs through, when everything runs through the Glazers and all of that they just didn't care. And that was true. Still wasn't true of the staff, mind you. But it was true of, you know, the ownership at the top of it. And so you look at it and you're like, that doesn't make sense. So what's the actual reason? And then you dig into it and you start finding out what is like actually going on all of this. So yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm at on it. Regardless, then there's the Sancho one. Sancho, who's spending his days at wireless and who knows what else, rather than sorting his future out, I guess. Juventus are close to bringing Conceição in. DeMarzio was talking a lot about that over the weekend for us in terms of the offer for Sancho, but he said that they did want both. So we'll see if there's any updates from Italy here shortly on that the talks were going. Could get a secret bomba tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sure we could. We could totally. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too with Brentford. I don't know. I genuinely think Brentford are hoping that they get us to walk and get some, you know, that Brentford get us to want us to oh I don't know about that source, but let's see if something else comes out on Sancho here. Oh, calm down. Everything's okay. Just saw something there.
Would we have walked away from Mbeumo by now if Amorim didn't go to board and insist on getting top target attackers? Not blaming him BTW, just curious.
It's a good question. It's a good question. I think that's fair. Probably, yeah. But look, like when they brought Ruben Amorim in, obviously a big part of his job was to say, where are we actually at? Like, just bear in mind something. They didn't have, until Ruben Amorim, a manager whose feedback, analysis, and like thought process aligned with them, right? So they didn't. In November, when they hired him, a huge part of his job, like bear in mind something. I know this seems really easy to do because we've been United fans for a long time. We've been watching everything for a long time. Oh, calm down. Everything's okay. Is there a message there? Thank you for the donation. But yeah. If you have a message, send it again, okay? So because I just couldn't see it. So apologies. A big part of it was to assess the team. We've watched the team forever. We know everything, you know, from the outside looking in, all that kind of stuff. Every club utilizes their manager to assess things. And then you bear in mind, who are the other staff, all that they use to assess things? The analysts, the coaches, the all sorts of stuff, all of that. They brought in somebody and have torn all that up. So a lot of the season, you know, which Omar said, which Ruben said, which a lot of them said, was him coming in early. The benefit was getting his feedback on where they're really at. If he felt like we could afford to get more younger project players, like maybe mid-level players, I talk about Nene Dorgelis as a name like that fits into that kind of example in the attacking areas, and go for those type of players and get 2 or 3 of them, but go cheaper. Then if he felt like we could do that, then we would do that, because that was a plan. That was a potential. That was one of the things we're looking at. That was one of the things we're considering. That was one of the things we're lining up. A lot of these like more younger, mid-level like targets that are maybe a little more risk, but they're not all going to hit, but you need a couple years to develop them. If we'd gotten into Champions League, we probably would have bought those and the high-quality attackers, mind you, rather than more high-quality attackers. We would have got like a couple top attackers and a couple young players like that as well. But essentially, right. So, but essentially his assessment was, in this area, we can't afford that. We need top class goal scorers, you know? We need top class goal scorers. That's what we need first and foremost. And that's what has to happen. So that was essentially the assessment. So sure, if he had delivered a different assessment, that might have been the case, but he didn't. You know, his assessment was spend all the money on goals. He feels like he can improve us in a lot of different areas, to be quite honest. He feels like he can, he feels like he can improve us dramatically in these other positions. He feels like we have good players, who can perform in other positions around the pitch that we have at the club now and at the youth level. He feels we have good players there, but he feels that essentially no matter how much we improve in the other areas, it'll be killed by the attack. And I think that's a fair assessment. Like when I looked, again, we talk about that Spurs final. If we had a top striker, would we have beat Spurs and won the Europa League? Do you guys think? Let me ask you a question. I want to poll this because I'm curious as to people's thoughts on this. Oh, calm down. Everything's okay.
The reports from beginning of June were Brentford wanted similar to the Kuna fee 60 ms plus up front. United have not offered that yet. 55m was the bid plus add-ons. Maybe if we just bid what they wanted earlier would be done.
Yeah. A bit. Well, here's the thing, Ottawale. I'm not sure that that's totally true. I get that they said like they were talking Cunha money, but they were okay with 55 million flat 3 weeks ago. They were okay with that. Like they had the discussions. I understand that there was the reports in the media, but they were okay with that 3 weeks ago with 55 million flat. We don't know. We might have walked in and bid the 62 million and they would have said we want 70 right off the bat, because Fabrizio said 70 million back then. Which is well out of more than Cunha. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm not sure that there's a anyway, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure that that's possible. I think it's, I'm not sure. I don't know that that's a straight answer in that respect, to be quite honest. But the thing is we've been kind of ready to do 60 plus 5 and all of that. I understand Duncan said they want 70 million, but again, in the talks, they wanted less, and they were okay with less. So, yeah. Would we have beaten Tottenham with Cunha and forward? So, yeah, most people say yes. So, like, point being there, if that's the case, then we had a team good enough to win the Europa League and get into Champions League if we had good forwards. So essentially that's kind of the point, is that Amorim and his assessment is we're going to improve in so many different areas, but without the elite forwards we won't. Without the elite forwards, it'll hold us back, it'll kill us. And I think the thing to bear in mind with Ruben Amorim, and I figured out a better way to describe this about Ruben Amorim and the way that he likes to play, because I think that people don't like when I say he doesn't prioritize the midfield, and they say you can't win without a midfield, yada yada, bark bark, all of that kind of stuff, right? I get that, and so I think that maybe the way that my language on it is wrong here. Ruben Amorim does prioritize the midfield. What he prioritizes in it is basically a 4-man flat midfield with the 2 10s dropping in as extra midfielders. And so you're creating, it's not a 2-man midfield, it's a 2-man and a 4-man. So it's probably averaging 3 players in the midfield. You know what I mean? Um, because he wants those 10s to drop in. So yes, when you say, well, how do we progress the ball? We don't progress through the middle. I've said that before too. You do, but you progress with the 10s dropping into the middle and receiving the ball, driving it up the pitch. That's progression through the middle, through your forwards who are actually midfielders in the first 2 phases of play and things like that. So, and then oftentimes the wingbacks are your wingers. So you think of it more like the wingers are your attackers and your attackers are your midfielders. Then you have a 4-man midfield. So there's a lot in terms of the midfield being prioritized. Hasn't read it out. It might read it out in a second. Doesn't give a lot of width without. It needs the wingbacks to work their ass off. There's no doubt about that, Robbie. But you do progress through the midfield. You do progress with the 10s, and so his view and the way that he plays, those 10s are the most important players on the pitch, alongside the wingbacks for progression. Okay, those 10s are the most important players alongside the wingbacks for progression, because they essentially become the midfielders that progress the ball up the pitch by dropping in deep and either releasing it to the wingbacks or picking the ball up and going forward. Watch Xerxes. Any game he played from like February on, you watch Xerxes, you'll see exactly how he solves the build-up problem when he plays, because he drops into those zones, picks it up, moves it around, gets up the pitch. Those 10s are so big, and that's why they're willing to spend an enormous amount of money on some good 10s. Do you think Sir Jim new funds would be this limited? Yes. Why did he buy a share? Because he wanted to buy the full club, but they couldn't work a deal out. But yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, and the striker doing the runs behind. Yep, yeah. Because he had to. He wanted to buy the whole club. I mean, the whole sale process was complicated. I mean, bear in mind that even on the present agreement, Ineos had to walk away, threatened to walk away the day before Christmas, like at the start of that week. You know what I mean? They had to walk away. They threatened to walk away to the Glazers because they still wouldn't have. So it was like that or nothing at all. So anyway, that's why. But this was the reality. But this is why, again, the budget cuts, the things like that. Again, imagine without the budget cuts, we would have nothing. Literally no money to spend this year. None. Wouldn't really buy more shares. I don't know, but a month from today, certain things expire. Okay, and I'm just keeping my ears strongly open for certain developments on the sort of the front of the whole thing. You know, the yeah, PSR 120 million for sales. Pretty much, yeah, that's probably what we can do. Like I said, anything else, we're gambling. We're gambling with it. If we spend more than that without sales, we could, but it's a gamble. It's a gamble. Maybe the players got confused. The fullbacks are more attackers than defenders. Well, it depends on the personnel, right? Because you know when Ahmad plays at wing back, we progress the ball better because he's in the right positions. Essentially. So yeah, all right. Let me pull up this thing on Sancho. We'll see if anybody else backs it up. I'm blocked by Mr. Padula for whatever reason. Don't know why. But I'll pull it up. Hold on. This is what he said. Jadon Sancho and Juventus. Contact is increasingly tensed. Today was the direct contact. Sancho wants to wait for Juventus, but in situations like this, the only thing that matters is closing the deal. Okay, whatever. So he's just waffling, it feels like. Maybe that's why. Maybe I said something about that. Anyway, Manchester United has learned that Juventus won't pay 25 million with less than a year to go. Currently, no one is paying 25. Juventus continue to be the priority, but holding on also means a way to close the deals. Okay, that was a very pointless. All right, that was maybe his tweet has a better information because that article said absolutely nothing. This is probably why I'm blocked, by the way. Something like what I'm saying now. All right, this says complete agreement on the salary. All right, you might have put that in the article. Okay. So if they're agreed on the salary and we don't need a payoff, then it's a deal that should get done. I mean, that's what we speculated with the DiMarzio one. Is the offer that they're placing one that means we don't have to make a payoff to his wages? Because if so, then we could probably do it. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. Go back to that Glazers timeout thing. What was that? 18-month rule. There's certain agreements that expire on August 14th. Am I writing Sancho a strongly worded letter? No. Should I? Do you think it'll help? So yeah. Anyway, we talked about Antony coming back. Apparently, Sancho. There seems to be some news, but it's not clear as of yet if somebody else will do that. If somebody else is going to match that, like if somebody else is going to report the same thing or similar, anyways, in terms of progress on Sancho with Juventus. What are the agreements? Gosh, now I'm going to have to remember. The agreements are like a buy-in, like an exclusivity period, I think, essentially. The drag-along rights. Somebody else tries to buy the club, then they can force Ineos to sell after August 14th, and a few other things. But, essentially it puts Ineos in a weaker position where if somebody else comes in and bids, then they could force Ineos to sell. Now, that is not super meaningful because the likelihood of that is somewhat low, but it does mean that essentially the club could be sold out from under them in the blink of an eye. Now, personally, I don't think that that's a position that Ineos and Sir Jim will want themselves to be in for a reason. And with obviously with all the plans, the stadium, with everything ongoing, there's a lot of stuff that's a 5-7 year plan here. Then you would suspect. I mean, the other factor on all of this is that all the plans that are being made are plans that only make sense if in the end Ineos don't do if Ineos get more of the club. Hold on one second.
So all the Qatar X accounts will be back in August.
It's just on the phone. I was just on the phone. I know I was muted. I was just on the phone. No big deal. Yeah. It doesn't mean anything for any other buyers because they could have made an offer at any point during this 18 months. It just, yeah. But again, like I was saying, I don't think that they'll want to be in the position that anyway, a lot of stuff they're doing only makes sense if they're going to end up being a larger owner. In the end, that's all that makes sense. McGregor asking if I want some pictures. I don't think he'd be asking, from what I understand. just sending. That's it. No asking involved here. Just sending. Yeah. What else are we looking at here? Yeah. I mean, that's it. So it's pretty pivotal to me. These are pivotal days in the Mbeumo thing. Pivotal times. Serious times for us. He just bought a 2 kg weight and strap looking to get biceps. Twanzebe. I mean, I don't know what to say about that. What would I know? It was like sometime back in 2020, 2021, some medical advice or something that he received at United or the direction or something apparently hurt him. Could be. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, probably. This is where I say, like, so much shit has been run so poorly. When I say that a lot of things are improving, like, people don't get it at the same time. Like, because, again, there's so much focus on the transfers and things like that. Like, people do not understand that every single part of this club has been butchered for such a long time that, like, medical, fitness, diet, so much has been run and done so poorly that, like, I don't know. It's like, it should be no surprise, frankly, like, that these things happen. And you look at it like a lot of that stuff has to be sorted out and is being sorted out anyway. And it's just been so bad. Like, so much stuff behind the scenes has just been disastrous that I don't know, man. It's a long road back, but those are things that have to be improved in addition, obviously, and are being improved, to be fair. Are being improved. It's not just Axel. I mean, there's yeah. I mean, how can he prove that? I don't know. Obviously, yeah, it's a can of worms, but like, yeah, the financial issues. Well, I mean, I would agree, Amy. Like, there are serious financial issues. There's no doubt about that. And I think that it's everything that is requiring a lot of money to do is slow. Everything that isn't requiring a lot of money to do is quick and happening and getting sorted out. And that's frustrating, but that's kind of just where we are as well. The focus group was today. I didn't hear anything, but it's good to know. Like, I can ask about that if there was anything. I mean, I imagine they'll put together the feedback and put something out at some point here. Ooh, calm down. Everything's okay.
Great work, James. Sesko to Mufk. Vivel contacts.
I mean, I don't think we'll go for Sesko because I don't think we want to spend an enormous amount of money on unproven player, which is why we're, we didn't like walk away to Ekatike. You know what I mean? I think if we wanted Sheshko, we'd have gone for him by now. But hey, I mean, wow. I don't think so. Mufka's pretty funny. You're old enough to remember Sir Alex buying Mike Phelan, Ralphman, and Mal Donaghy, but they were a step closer to what came later. Yeah. Well, it's not that dissimilar to what happened way back when. It isn't actually that dissimilar to what happened way back when. So I guess we'll find out. Why has there been no briefs on transfer? Because they don't want to put anything out. They're just not interested in doing that these days. They're just not. I mean, people complained when we did brief, and then they complain when we don't. You know what I mean? Seems like people wish we had the briefs back. But I get why they're not. And it's okay. Gyökeres deal not moving forward? It is moving forward. Fabrizio says the talks are ongoing. Yeah, he says the talks are ongoing right now. So, yeah, I wouldn't go for Sheshko myself. Just another expensive, risky type of player to me that we can't afford to do right now. But yeah, look, end of the day, on the Mbeumo thing, if you missed it, what I was saying is that obviously our strategy, get the player to push for the move now. Thanks and welcome, Hushy. There was another person who joined earlier. I think I forgot to acknowledge, but thank you. We need Mbeumo to push a bit. The deal's been changing. We want it to be settled so we know what to offer. We still want to get it done. We still want to move it forward. But my opinion here is that if it doesn't work in the next couple of days, based on the way that they've approached this, it is time to move on. So for me, it's like soon. Eminem, welcome to the membership. Thank you. To me, it is like soon, it's soon where we say it's time to pivot and move on. I think Wednesday was my pivot day. Like this week is when I figure we have to get a deal done or move away. Calm down. Everything's okay.
Were any of the Jackson stories that came out straight after the last live from anyone reliable?
The one story that came out was from Nabil something. And I was trying to remember why I remembered his name. He was the one who actually broke the Euro story last year on us. And I remember at the time when he reported, everybody was like, nah, that guy doesn't know anything. It was just like a random thing saying he said yes to us and he's like ready to join. And then next day it was confirmed. So that's the only person it came from. It's hard to know because he's not like a United journalist. It's hard to know like where. But anyway, he said United inquired. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know if how much is in to take from that report or not. But he was totally correct, and he's a real person and a real reporter. And he was totally correct on that. What connection he would have on this beats the hell out of me. But people keep talking about that. Oh yeah, there was a report from reported by Taliso about Taliso United being interested by quite a strong French journalist there over at L'Equipe. I don't know what to make of that one. Older. Older. I kind of get why they would like his traits. He's a good player. He kind of like a backup attacking 8, I think. But why we would want that? I mean, maybe we would. Maybe we would just want another one, but I don't know. Um, I don't totally understand it. Matthew Benham, the Brentford owner, is selling a sizable stake in Premier League club to businessmen Gary Lubner and Matthew Vaughan at a valuation of over £400 million. Deal announced tomorrow. Well, what the hell, man? Brentford are selling half of their fucking club. Hold on a second. I wonder. Hold on. I wonder if this is why they don't want to sell. If they have a huge influx of money coming in. Um, 25%. It's taken over a year. It acknowledges Brian Mbeumo from Mr. Kleiman here. Huh. Well, I do. That really does like make me wonder quite a bit about this situation because that could certainly explain why they've been pushing against a sale if they have all this, if they're trying to sell a stake and he's their most important player and they're negotiating a deal, then they're going to sell for a bunch of money. That would explain a lot to me. I can understand why this complicates things and could explain them being so dickish on the matter. Especially while they were in talks to sell. Now, does that mean the day afterwards they're willing to cash in on him? And they'll take the money and the new owner will take the money and want to reinvest it? Or... I don't know. They should still sell. His value would be low, but maybe once this is announced, it makes it easier for them to do so and to cash in. Anyway, it doesn't really change everything we've said, but it may offer some explanation into the complications around all of this. I wonder. All right. Well, interesting. I'm gonna end it there. We'll see what comes tomorrow if I can dig up anything. But it's a big couple of days, I think, on this Mbeumo front now. Big couple of days. All right, everybody. Okay, that's it. I don't want to speculate any further. I'll see you later. Okay. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good rest of your evening, and we'll be back tomorrow with some things.